Welcome to Bequant. In this customer interview, we spoke to Jeff Cortez at Texas-based Resound Networks and got his take on how Bequant's QoE software improves network operations and their subscribers' in-home internet experience.
All right, yeah, I'm Steve Kiley with Bequant Networks. We're based out of Madrid, Spain. We've got our quality of experience product that's a bandwidth optimization. It optimizes the bandwidth across all networks. And today we have Jeff from Resound with us, and we're going to have our Bequant chat. So how you doing today, Jeff?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great now that you're here. So what we want to do is just talk a little bit about how did you find QoE? How did you find Bequant?
We found it just doing some, searching around the marketplace. At the time, we were with Preseam. We were trying to find something that gave us a little more capabilities with DPI and things like that. So ended up coming across the QoE product and did some testing and liked what the product offered and started deploying it across our whole network.
So when you mentioned you're doing some testing, what kind of tests did you do, and what did you see?
So what we wanted to see initially is a lot of our fiber circuits we were really tapping on. They were heavily utilized, and so we were trying to see if there was any room we could squeeze some more bandwidth into the circuit by truly optimizing the speeds of the customers. So that was our first trial, and when we did that, we started seeing as high as 40% reduction in our usage of the circuit. And so when we started deploying it more, it averaged out about 20 to 30% reduction of traffic on the circuit. Not only did we see that, but we also started seeing some retransmission lower, ping rates, of course, lowered with the TCP optimization. We started seeing traffic in a better queue and less utilization on the circuits. Right. So when we started activating flows for streaming services, when we started putting lower prioritization during busy hour for software updates, things like that, we really started to see, overall better customer experience for their traffic and to not overutilize certain applications where it's not needed, especially with the streaming services. They can really ramp up your throughput and with the ability to control the flows, they're getting the same video quality, but it's not near as harmful to the network in terms of usage.
So what kind of TCP optimization results did you guys see?
Man, of course, it varied based on data center, but we were seeing 3 to 5%, and then upwards of 10 to 12%, depending on what the traffic was at the time. Of course, during heavier utilization, we were seeing higher optimization. And with that, we were seeing less congestion on the network. It not only applies to our fiber links, it applies to all of our network components, our full infrastructure in the network. So it's not just our direct fiber circuits; it's every piece of equipment that's being heavily utilized. We were seeing really good results in terms of TCP optimization, decongestion, and retransmission rates. So,
yeah, we've been working together for a long time. You got quite a bit of different products in your network. I know that you got lots of brands of wireless. You've got fiber. Do you have any cable in your network?
No cable. We're wireless. Currently, we do have fiber projects that we're currently working on that will be in the marketplace very soon.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask. So, have you noticed any improvements with customer calls coming from your gamers as it pertains to latency and gaming issues prior?
Yeah, we have. In fact, we had a particular customer that we did a flow control specifically for him. He was having issues with gaming during peak hours, of course. And we put in some, flow controls specifically for him. And he, his response was, I could tell a night and day difference. What did y'all do? Like he was, having high ping latency. Of course, for gamers that has to hurt their kill to death ratio, right? So,
For sure.
and so he did notice that whatever we did uh, fixed him, and we haven't heard from him since we put that flow control in. I think it's been a couple of years now. So
Oh,
he no longer blasts us to fix his kill to death ratio. So
nice.
Good.
um, so it's all good now. But yeah, for specific gamers, uh, we're able to to provide that service for them now. Just to isolate them if they're having issues.
What type of results did you see once you fired up QoE in your network?
So our main focus, we had one of our service areas. We were getting a lot of complaints, and this goes back to the circuits, the fiber circuits being tapped,
Hmm.
and so we were getting daily calls during busy hour, right? And so we didn't even tell our sales group, our tech support group that, hey, we're putting this in. So we put it in and specific to that market and uh, went from, we were doing about 5 gigs of um, throughput, 5 gigs worth of data during busy hour. And then we put the QoE in line and we were down to 3 gigs after I did all the optimization, and the calls just quit coming in. And so then 2 weeks later, finally tech support's like, hey, we're not getting any more calls in this area. And then that's when we finally told them, yeah, we're testing a new QoE product, and that's a validity to the test. We were seeing if you guys noticed that the call reduction, um, was there, and then not only that, it helped us also identify some uh, issues with some access points that were overloaded. We could see that during the peak on the retransmissions and the increased latency that Bequant tried to control, but there's only so much it can do to hardware issues. So we were able to identify some of those and get those access points cleared up and get customers offloaded. So, but overall, the tech support did notice that call volume was down drastically, going from 20 to 30 calls a day for this area to one or two maybe that were just isolated issues. And we got 16 boxes now in the network, um, and it definitely has benefited us um, beyond just the pricing of it. It's for customer impact to making sure that we're really um, utilizing our infrastructure appropriately and that we're not just uh, giving away data, right? So we want to get the best money on our return for what we're paying for, fiber exits and DIA circuits. So we really get the best bang for our buck.
Overall, since conception to where we are now, what has been your overall experience just working with the QoE team? And what are some areas that maybe we could be better at?
So overall, from day one, from just, hey, let's get this box in the network. Um, I remember when we were first trialing this thing, uh, there was no, hey, yeah, just send us an email, or no, it's like we're getting on the phone and we're getting this figured out. Like it's been direct support as far as talking to somebody and getting it worked on or figuring something out. I mean, I've emailed some of your developer guys at like midnight, and I'm not expecting a response, but here it is like 5 minutes later, and they're responding like, yeah, this is all you gotta do, da da da. And I'm like, oh well, I wasn't even expecting it
Yeah.
to get back to me till 8 in the morning, you know. So I mean, some of the guys we worked with were just and have worked with have been really great from a response standpoint. Like, and it's not that if they don't know the answer, they're going to help you. They'll figure it out, or they'll find somebody to help with what needs to be done. And it's never, I can't do that. It's, let's get this figured out and we'll get it knocked out. And
Yeah.
especially like whenever we were looking at trialing a different uh, billing platform, and uh, there was no API integration set up for them, and it's like, hey, get a hold of Lewis and said, hey, we need to get this API built. Okay, within
Yeah.
an hour, it was already done. I'm like, okay, well that didn't take near as long as I was expecting, a month turnaround, and it's like, no, they the support that they offer is tremendous. Like it's it's so far one of the best support teams I work with from a vendor level. We you guys are on top of stuff. I mean, we don't have any issues and nothing gets missed.
How about redundancy? I remember that was, a lot of people get real concerned about redundancy in their network. They want to make sure that if anything happens, the box goes down or the software stops working, you don't have any issues. So how did you guys tackle that concern?
So we've got, we're in a different position, being 7 state operator, with some funding where we were able to do 2 box redundancy. We split the architecture to not overload the boxes. Not that that's possible, but we just split it up for our architecture purposes. We have them both running. One goes down, the other one takes over. And then if we have data centers that happen to go offline, I don't, have to be a bomb or something. That's all I
Yeah.
can think of. A
Yeah.
big, what do they call those? Uh,
EMPs?
yeah, well, EMP, or but the things with the big waves, the
Nuke?
tsunami or something. Yeah,
Oh, the tsunami. Yeah.
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 Unless the tsunami takes out, one in Houston or somewhere, but we got failovers from data center to data center that we have the appropriate build per QoE that can take all the traffic for complete data centers if they decide to go offline for whatever reason. But yeah, that's how we're able to do it. And whenever we do software updates and stuff, um, if the box goes down, it doesn't shut our traffic down. Traffic's going to do what traffic's going to do. It's just not doing the Bequant trafficking, right? It's not doing the
Optimization.
prettying it up, but it doesn't um, hinder our customers. There's no got to toggle this switch, toggle that switch. When we reboot them for software updates and they come right back, boom, I mean, it's instantaneous. They're back to working. So we haven't had one single issue as a result of QoE not being able to provide service.
Yeah.
And so there's no bypass failover or whatever you got to use to make sure it's not in line. If it's down, you're still going to have traffic. It's just not going to be optimized. So you're not going to even know unless you go look to see why your traffic is running so high, and
Yeah.
then come to find out your box is down. But yeah, that hasn't been one single issue for us.
One thing I wanted to ask about was, Wi-Fi in the home. The fiber networks, they've got lots of capacity. If everything's built right, there shouldn't be any issues. But at the end of that ONT, inside the home, you've got your in-home Wi-Fi network, and even you can have the best one out there, but you get devices that aren't connecting well. They're not, they're back in the back bedroom trying to connect to the router. What kind of results do you see with the QoE? Is it solving those issues?
We don't have fiber to the home yet, right? We're still building that network.
Okay.
I don't foresee any issues when we do start putting customers on, especially during the test phase. I don't foresee any issues, with QoE not being able to do what it's going to do, just because of where it sits within the network, right? So it's just a proxy, and it it's going to do the same for wireless as it is for fiber. I don't foresee any. Oh well, this guy's on our ONT over here. He's not going to get the same optimization. I don't foresee any of that being a problem with QoE just by design.
So
I
after
mean,
3 years of using QE, what would you say to other WISPs out there, your
man,
comrades in arms?
yeah, I would. If you're not, if you don't have bandwidth optimization or any type of DPI product, and you're looking for one that's is scalable and affordable, I mean, this is, I'm telling you, this is the good stuff right here, especially, and for the flows, you can, anything you can think of in the HTTP string that you can identify and tag, you can optimize your traffic in different ways you couldn't even imagine. Like, we're only probably using, I wouldn't even say a tenth of what the product can do. Just, we just focused on streaming and gaming and updates. But I mean, there's just so many more things you can do, from tier level of service. If you wanted to provide a tier level service to, I mean, you name it, it can be done, and there's no restrictions on how you do it, right? So
Right.
it's an incredible product. I wish we had it from day one. I wish the Quant was back when we were first started up, because this would have been nice to have back then, when we were tapping circuits when we didn't have to. So
Oh,
just increasing our OpEx to meet the demand, which we didn't have to. So
yeah, it's nice to see guys being able to stretch their capital dollars,
oh
instead
yeah,
of having to invest more and more, put up more APs and find more channels and move the channel plan around. They can,
yep,
use QoE to get more out of your current infrastructure.
yeah. People don't realize the cost of providing uh, the actual cost of providing internet, especially when you're in data centers and getting direct DIA circuits, and what the total CapEx dollars is for
Mhm.
operating just that side, just to be able to provide a customer to go to Google. There's a costly expense, and we've seen it increase, because the demand for data is increasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may get it at a smaller dollar value over a large data set, but you're still talking $5,000-$10,000 to get those circuits. And so any any amount of headroom you can save to where you don't have to jump up to that next level is really cost effective. So
So on the network visibility, you talked about you can identify underperforming hardware. You can use the subscriber statistics and analytics to identify people having latency issues, retransmission issues. Tell us about that a little bit.
yeah, and what's nice about the the platform is the API, right? So um, myself, being in the development group, software group for Resound, I'm always building what we can, right, to suit our needs, and the ability to pull the data from the box and use it how we want it to identify issues, and in conjunction of doing some network investigation, is really helpful. I mean, to be able to do that on the other platform wasn't there. There was no, hey, you can do this, and it was no, you got to log in and look at it in there, and that's the only way you're going to be able to see the data. But with us, we got so many different components that we're monitoring. We monitor over 5,000 components, and to be able to tie that one particular component that we have already built in a certain tool and use API calls to go get the data from the QoE and see them match up uh, is is pretty wild. So it helps us. We can build it the way we want to look at it. We don't have to give everybody access to the box. We can pull the data how we want to see it. We can categorize it to what we're used to looking at. Right now, I'm in the process of building some real time specific tools, and by real time I mean we we started it this week, and we're able to find a site within 5 seconds of it having issues to us getting in contact with the knock to them saying, "Oh yeah, matter of fact, that is down. How did you find out so quick?" Like it it just went down, and you pinged us and let us know within 5 seconds.
Right.
So, and we're using all the data from what we're getting from our devices and QoE now. So we're able to really look at stuff in real time. So it's um, the the ability to do that, to get the data from the box, and also if we had to go look in the box to see different things, has been, a real game changer for us. I've can we can give we've got a tool now that tech support uses. They just put in an IP address, and it goes and looks in 16 boxes and finds information and reports it back to where they don't have to go, oh man, I need to go log in this one. Oh, well, with the ability that y'all given with the APIs and access to all the data, because it's our data, right? You're not holding it hostage. We've been able to really uh, make a big change in how people view every aspect of the network. So
That's really cool. I have not heard that yet. Using those API hooks to
oh
pull the
yeah,
data apart and put it where you guys want it. That's pretty neat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's very helpful, and it it also helps us to know that the the metrics we were looking at in the device itself matches what y'all are reporting as well. And then on top of that, you had the uh, TCP optimization, and we can see how you guys correct those issues. We look at the ACM, see how uh, you know those, when we start seeing high retransmission rates and stuff like that. We see that data, but we also see where you guys are fixing those issues. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's all, and what's even better is now that with the DPI information and all that you guys provide, we also flag in real time latency issues to certain providers, whether it's Sony, Google. We can pull all that data and look at it across the whole network. So it's not just, we're not just looking at one over here or over there. It's the whole network. So that's what makes it, I mean, pretty impressive. We can do that.
I wish that we could take your ability to pull all the radio statistics out and merge them together
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We got we got some pretty awesome stuff that we've been working on here, this past couple of weeks, that I've been on a real push to get, some better visibility to the network, and like I said, some of the tools that I'm finishing up this week. I'm talking within 5 seconds, we see issues, and it's alarming us and
since we're
alerting us right away.
recording. I'm tempted to try and get you to commit to sharing all that with us.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, and that just goes back to, with the data you guys are providing, we're able to do that.
Yeah.
Not only with what stuff we have monitoring to the network, but what you guys are also providing to us for visibility.
I don't know much about this, but I was having a guy talking to me about managing his 95th percentile. Maybe that makes sense to you, but
Hmm.
we've got a customer right now that's getting billed $1,000 a month for peak going over his contract.
Oh yeah. So he's
And
getting burst rate. Uh, uh, he's getting that burst, and so whenever it gets over that peak burst, whatever level, because they'll provide you. Let's say you go to a provider and say, hey, I want gig of service, right? Well, they put you on a 10 gig pipe and charge you for a gig of service. And then they say, okay, hey, so we can do up to 10 gigs for your circuit. You're going to lease space for 1 gig, but anytime you go over that, we'll let you go over, but
yeah,
you're going to pay X amount over the time period. And so, most operators don't even think to man, I got to make sure I don't go over that gig because it's going to get pretty costly pretty quick. And
yeah,
so,
yeah. This
they,
this guy's able to manage his bandwidth during peak times
yep.
and stay below that now. So essentially saving him, $1,000 per month in
Oh, yeah.
billing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so you can take that $1,000, recoup it in the business over time, and then get a larger circuit with more customers, right? So,
yeah.
um, he can definitely find ways to spread that $1,000 for other capital, whether it's more access points or even new tower location.
Throw in Bequant parties.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, uh,
All right.
but
Sheldon, you any more?
No, that's it. I appreciate Jeff you taking the time to talk with us, and this has been very insightful. And we look forward to continuing to working with you.
oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Visit bequant.com for more videos, how-tos, and other technical documentation. And read our solution briefs and case studies to see how Bequant's QoE helps you take control of your network.